You heard lots of people talking about Everton and the situation they find themselves in. They've lost 8 of their last 9 in the Premier League. And roles have reversed ahead of our live game tonight as they take on Newcastle at Goodison Park. It's live and exclusive to National Radio right here. And still doubts over Dominic Calvert-Lewin, whether or not he's going to be able to play today. He's being assessed. There'll be a late fitness test for him. And John Joe Kenny is banned. Frank Lampard's walked into a very difficult situation. Does he have the chops to get them out of it?
I don't know is the answer. I had real reservations, despite liking Frank as a person and believing that there's going to be a really good manager in there, and thinking that the time he took Chelsea, whilst it was an opportunity that perhaps he felt he couldn't turn down, was always going to end the way it did, because I didn't think he had enough experience gained at Derby to warrant getting a job, even if there was this alleged transfer embargo, which really wasn't, because they were still signing players like Pulisic during that period of time. But listen, moving on from there to where he's at Everton, it is one thing going into a football club with no experience of relegation battles and then getting your experience there when the football club is in a reasonable space, besides the fact they've employed the wrong manager previously.
Yeah.
This football club isn't in the right space in terms of intellectual capital off the pitch.
Anyone's going to find it difficult coming into this.
Yes, I think they are,
job.
because I think it's not in a good position. It's not in a good position with its owner. It's not in a good position with its relationship with the fans. It's not in a good position off the field and on the field. So what you need is a certain type of person that can ignore the background noise, knows what it's like to be in a situation where there's real trouble coming down the pike, and finds the levers to pull to be able to react to the circumstances. Frankie's not in that position. He doesn't know that. So what he's having to do is learn on the job. Now, there's enough quality in that Everton side.
Is there?
Up top there is, yeah. I mean, I know we've got to get Calvert-Lewin on pitch, right? But we've also got Richarlison, who is capable of playing at the highest level. We've also got players that performed at the beginning of the season and were a revelation and have often done this in their careers, like Demarai Gray, who suddenly go missing at times, and away they go again. But there is enough there. Defensively, no. But there's enough there to keep them out of the bottom 3.
Well, it's interesting you say about the idea of never being involved in a relegation battle, never experiencing this sort of situation. That makes it more difficult for Frank. He's been speaking about exactly that, and this is what he said in response to it.
A relegation battle as such is not something that I've had, but things with football are always very relative. And I mentioned as a player having times where you were under pressure to win games, to win tournaments, to fight. It's relative pressures. You know, in my career generally, to draw or lose a game was seen as a big problem, big issue, because I was fortunate enough to play at clubs where those were the limits and expectations. But it's the same pressure. So if you walk around in fear of that happening, then there's a good chance you're adding to the chance that it may happen, you know. And we know where we're at. It's not time for lies or to change the story. We know where we're at. I've also seen that this club have stayed up in the league on the last day of the season a couple of times. So it's nothing that's absolutely new. And maybe that's why the nerves creep in and the feeling with the players and the fans. That's human nature. But for us, it's not about having fear of what might be. It's what can we action, what can we deal with? We deal with these 12 games in front of us.
He's talking it up. You, throughout the course of that, was shaking your head and going, no, it's not the same.
It's not the same. You know, being a constant winner and having pressure to win is very different than having the responsibility to try and do something very different, which is avoid losing.
More or less pressure? What is it?
Well, it's a different kind of pressure because you're dealing with a group of players that are not winning and frightened to some extent of losing games rather than approaching
a penalty in a Champions League final.
But it's like an amateur golfer and a professional golfer on the 18th tee with a water hazard in front of them. You hit what you see. The amateur golfer says, don't hit the water hazard, don't hit the water hazard. The professional golfer says, hit the green, hit the green. The winning mentality is about winning. When you're losing, the alternative mentality is about avoiding losing. When you're playing...
They need to win, so isn't it great that he's got that outlook?
When you're playing an elite side, all you think about is winning. When you're playing in a side that's losing, part of your thinking is also about not losing, because losing forms part of the equation that you've become used to. He's got to change a mindset and get these players into a situation where they can overcome adversity in the middle of games.
So is
not
his
before
job not
a game,
changing his mindset, but he's changing the players' mindset.
Well, his
mindset
mindset
sure they don't slip into negative thoughts.
Well, his mindset doesn't need to change. He's one of a winner.
Yeah.
His ability to be able to relate to those that aren't winners is the difficulty, because he doesn't have the traits of a loser. He doesn't have the traits of what it takes for someone to be in the position that Everton are in. He ain't been there. He doesn't know what that looks like. So he's got to learn it very quickly. Duncan Ferguson is there. Duncan Ferguson has seen Everton struggle previously. Now, his relationship with Frank relating to the circumstances surrounding Everton's demise or near demise in previous incarnations is 25 years ago. I don't suppose anybody, this generation of Everton fans, really want to recall Graham Stewart scoring a goal in the last game of the season against Wimbledon, I think it was, to stay up, right? Or whatever it was, right? The bottom line is, this is a different Everton that's had £500 million spent on it.
1996?
Whenever it was, so it's 26 years ago. It's a long time ago. It's a generation of fans ago to some extent. Frank was always going to find this difficult. I, at this time, was very much against Frank, thinking this was the solution for his managerial opportunities. But I suppose you've got to get in, you've got to get in. Now he's going to learn. We're going to see if Frank has the ability to change the mindset of players that have somehow or another began to accept defeat as a stable diet, to people that can get past this particular obstacle.
Takes time to make an impact. Eddie Howe will tell you that, and he certainly had a couple of sticky months before he's had his good ones. He's certainly enjoying it now, and Newcastle United are the next opponents for Everton. It's live on talkSPORT tonight.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning 10 till 1 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.